Good evening, good evening, good evening. Peace and blessings to all the Malekios, aka Seekers. Yes, this is our Jay the African, and we are at the here at the African Speaks, where our topic is always the rise of the African within you, our Pan African movement, our social media Pan African movement, where we are trying to connect Black people all over the planet, enlighten Black people all over the planet, give them a purpose and a reason of being. That's the rise of the African. And so we've been talking about and we've been diving into the conversation of the power of the divine self. Hmm. For those who missed the intro, that was a heck of an intro. I got a lot of calls on that one and conversations with individuals who say how it inspired and sparked, just dialogue amongst the people that they were sitting amongst, around. And that's a beautiful thing, the power of the divine self. Now, I could immediately jump into the conversation about the power of the divine self, but I said, in order for me to really, really get this across, we're going to have to slow walk this thing. We're gonna have to sit down and walk it through together so that we have a complete understanding of the power of the divine self. And in that intro, so we gave a prerequisite. So there's gonna be some things that I talk about today that you probably have never heard of, you never dived into, you never touched. Right? But it helps you understand the power, that topic, the power of that topic and that term, the power of the divine self. And so we're here at chapter 1, understanding the source. Understanding the source. I can talk about God, I could talk about the creator, um, the most high, but if you don't have a clear understanding, if you are still indoctrinated by beliefs that you don't even know you're being controlled by, I can tell you about the divine self and it really won't register. And a lot of people are experiencing that. I see a lot of somewhat conscious people who believe they know, but you can tell by the way they interact within life that they're lost. Mm. And this is a hard time coming out of COVID where people and families are trying to get back on their feet. People are trying to find their place and their purpose after such a traumatic experience globally, with the conspiracy theories of minimizing populations, letting loose a government-made virus, and then only giving off what they call an antidote to the virus, which is a vaccine. My body is a temple. No vaccination goes in my body, not even the flu. I went to the doctor today and they asked me about the flu. I said, man, if I'm not taking no other kind of medicine, what makes you think I'm going to take the flu medication? And she said, I have to ask. Well, and I have to say, no, thank you to the temple in which I reside in. Get that? The temple I reside in. We're going to talk about the divine self and we're going to recap on what we talked about previously. So it's a catch up. And I don't just jump into to chapter 1 without reading it. Most of the time we read novels, we don't even deal with the introductory. We don't even read the preface. We just jump into the chapter. But I had to give you the intro. So now we're going to recap that within the chapter 1 of understanding the source. And then we're going to give you some foundation of what man used to understand the source. And then we're going to let you loose in your day and your time and your moment and your experience to see if you can grab a deeper concept of what the source is. And so we did say that at one point, there exists a being on earth that understood who they were, where they didn't need to go through a detoxification process, ridding themselves of false doctrines and false teachings. They came directly from source. There was a man and woman placed on this earth who were manifestations of divine thought. And in almost every spiritual discipline, they say, after God created Said, let there be light, created the heavens and the earth. He said, let us make man, as in mankind, one male, one female, in our image. We are beings creating a physical being in our image. So when you say the word image, what is it that you see? Do you see your physical self? Or do you know that there was a group of people who walked the planet who understood their relationship to the source? And they functioned as that. They were clearly co-creators. And you can go back into ancient historical African times and see a body of people manifest and create something great simply because they knew who they were, whose they were, and why they were here. Again, they understood their co-creative nature without a shadow of a doubt. No guessing. It was a part of their being, and they lived from it. And so you had tons and tons of civilizations created. Now, this is why we say you got to study Black history. Let me drop this here. Where's that? There we go. You got to study Black history. You got to study African history. In one of the series that we said we got to close the circle, because Black history is only studied in America up to the time of 1619 when we started becoming slaves in this country. No, you got to close the circle. Black history is the beginning of time. When man first walked the earth and you had the African, before he produced the different hues of man, they knew that they were co-creators. They knew that they were supposed to define the world around them according to how they saw themselves in the sight of God. They even called themselves gods. Why? Because if I come directly from divine thought, what am I? I am not the Most High, but I am a product of the Creator. Think about that. So let me see if I can put this here. So as we move forward, we'll always be able to keep the topic at large. And the topic at large tonight, give me a minute. Was this let's go back. I'm gonna go down. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm trying to make this happen for you. Because we don't want anybody coming in late not knowing what the topic is. The Divine Self, Chapter 1, Understanding the Source. And so we knew that we had co-creators on the planet. And how do you know this? If you ever you got sick and had to make you a cup of tea and you put some ginger in it and you're trying to figure out who knew that ginger will heal your health and what attributes ginger had in it? Who knew about turmeric? Huh? Who knew about the different herbs and what they do for your body? Who knew? Elderberry. Who knew? How did they get it? Because they would open up with information within their DNA before the issue of interference. Before the issue of interference, you have to study human history. You have to study African history. You have to also dive deep into why they attacked Africa, why they destroyed all the mystery systems, why they destroyed all the teachers, why did they destroy all the spiritualists? Because when we were seen in the light in which we saw ourselves in, man, that's a scary thing right there. One love, I see you listening. Thank you. That's a scary thing right there. So what did they have to do? I'm looking at this continent of kings and queens, those who walk as gods on earth, full of wisdom, information, spiritual connections. And we don't have what they have. We need to take it and take control of them. Because when we enslave ourselves, all we got to do is escape and back into population because we look like each other. We can't keep control of our own slaves and our own people. But if we take control of them, not only do we get their wisdom, understanding, intelligence, we get that backbone, power, and ingenuity. Ain't that something? The whole world conspired. The whole world, the whole non-Afrocentric world conspired. And so at this particular point in time, we can't say we understand the divine self if we have not dealt with our traumas and traumatic experiences that interfere with us having access to the source. So not only does it block our thinking and our consciousness, it also, we have that post-traumatic, the epigenetic trauma in our DNA. Now, you think people are studying DNA for the sake of just medicine. No, this is a whole different study. They study the being that we are. The being. Not just for medication purposes, but we want to know how we tick. And so when you start studying that, man, you start realizing the advantages of each individual being and what they have in relationship to who they were called to be. Ain't that something? They said you can't enslave an uneducated, educated people. You just can't. People who know who they are, whose they are, and why they're here. So getting deeper into, when you start looking at the source, real talk, you find out one thing. You're dealing with the issue of the divine self. You're diving into it. You think this is all osmosis, things appear. No. We know that the study of mathematics and science is the language God's used to help us explain how he manifested all things. This is God language. This is why when they started stealing information from the pyramids, the mystery temples of Kemet, they call it Egypt, they couldn't take all the books because they couldn't understand everything. And we wasn't going to teach everything. We only gave them a piece. I always say it, Pythagorean theory, Pythagorean didn't create that theory. A squared plus B squared times B squared equals C squared, or A squared plus B squared equals C. That's not Greek philosophy or Roman science. That's African. Even Da Vinci had sheets of study material from the continent. Only we had. It was the only information we were allowing them. And after they destroyed all the thinkers, all the spiritualists, and just left the people, they realized, and they burned the books. Alexander the Great. They then started studying what we were studying and had to take it further because they still couldn't produce. You cannot find one non-African society that can produce a pyramid. Come on. There are certain limits of science that they have. However, we were doing brain surgery way before they were doing brain surgery. We had lights outdoors before they had lights outdoors. Trust me, there was a master of science. When you are a people that have no interference with the information that God sends, the Most High sends, the Creator sends Om. Some people call it Om. When you don't have no interference, the language that God used to create the earth, create the universe, is within. And all you're going to do is to understand the world in which you live in. And when they destroyed those and they started looking for reasons why, they found out one thing. In the creation of the universe, it is perfectly, symmetrically developed. There is not one thing is mathematically designed for your being. We're going to talk about the journey to the divine self. The source created a universe mathematically perfect to maintain and sustain your being. You want to talk about that relationship? There is nothing that can be changed. No element, when they found out the makeup of the element, there is nothing that can be changed, because if it is changed by a trillionth of a decimal point, the smallest minute number, the universe will collapse. The source, God Almighty, the Most High, created the universe in perfect mathematical symmetry for you to exist in it. So when they sit down and they jumping into math and science, they're actually jumping into an experience of spirituality. You're like, what? Understanding the divine self, the power of the divine self, understanding the source. When I get you to the point where you see what the divine self is, you're going to have to know where it came from first. So we're starting at the very beginning as we channel down to the power of the divine self. What? Sometimes when it comes to me, I be my own amen. And spirituality, and people was like, oh, well, okay. If science is the study of spirituality, then the question is, what is spirituality? And that's crazy. What is spirituality? Because a lot of people sit down and say, I don't sign to no particular religious sect. I'm spiritual. So that means you are understanding your connection to reality and nature, your relationship to it, right? Spirituality is realizing, okay, what is my relationship to everything and everyone around me? It is the process of observation. It's just that simple process. Now, if you don't realize spirituality is observing who you are around nature and reality, you don't understand that that ain't nothing but you're studying that connection of science, which is spirituality. You're observing your being in that space. And so that is a part of the journey toward the power of divine self. If you're not spiritual, then you ain't, it's nothing. And now people say, well, that person's religious. I'm more spiritual. I'm not religion. No, religious is spirituality. Spirituality is religious. But being religious is talking about the relationship, what relates. Now, religion is a system. Religion is a system. It's organized system of beliefs and practices, often centered around one or more. Some faiths have a monotheistic, one creator, polytheistic, two creators, and there's one, and I wish it came to my head. There's one where it's polytheistic, many gods. There's one God, and under that one God, there are many gods, deities. And then they got the 5 major ones listed, but then you have those African ones. Ifa, Yoruba. You have a couple of Igbo. And tribes is a lot. Kali, they're a lot. And so in that space, religion is just a group of people having a system that they need and use. Now, back in the day, where the continent was full of multiple different people, Africans, tribes, they all had their own religious beliefs and were able to express who they are in the Creator without being put upon by the next. Because if I'm Ashanti, I'm not definitely trying to leave my Ashanti village to be a part of nobody else. I'm not trying to be Zulu if I'm Ashanti and Ashanti ain't trying to be Zulu. Nobody's leaving nowhere else to be nobody else. I called Sister African. She said, "Excuse me, I'm Nigerian." And she dropped down her people and the descendants of her people. Why? Because no one wants to trade in their spiritual system of how they see themselves in God, because it helped them understand who they are, where they are, and what they're supposed to produce as a community. And so there's nothing wrong. Do I have a religion? Yes, but am I spiritual? Absolutely. Now, in our processes at my community, and this is the 70th year for us fighting for the liberation of Black people, Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, Shrines of the Black Madonna. We incorporate African spirituality, which is understanding our connection and relationship to nature and life around us. But we also have religious processes that get us to the awareness of our spirituality. Religion is supposed to be the process to open you up to that greater understanding. Ain't that something? Not shut you off or shut you down and disconnect you. No, if you feeling separate in your religious practice, oh no, not we don't rock with you. There's something wrong, because there's no separation. I tell people there's no separation in God when you get in there. And so when you're studying, when you're getting to that point where you're working on your divine self, you can have religious practices. You can have a particular sect that will open you up to a higher sense of spirituality, which is your best self. Woo. The divine self. When you have that, because we have that process that will not just liberate your mind, but liberate a people. And then hopefully bind us together as one people. Because at one point, there was only one family. And that one family produced all families. But we have to understand that there are other elements that help us understand the source. And so as you start diving deeper into spirituality, you get into metaphysics. Metaphysics is the hot thing right now. Why? Because information that was studied, that is being studied from people that non-African. Individuals who are studying the universe. These are the atheist people who love science so much that there's no God. But then you start studying science so much you say there is a God. But you do not profess a religion, because religion holds you, pigeon-toes you and holds you to a limited amount of beliefs. And my spiritual process and our spiritual process at the POCC, Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, we don't do that. We said we're claiming Christianity, and we're going to rewrite it. And that's what we've been doing for the last 70 years. What? And talking about the liberation of Black people and influencing Kwame Ture, influencing Malcolm X, influencing Martin Luther King. What? We had some very powerful people in the beginnings of our journey, 70 years, and they keep us a secret. And when I came into the church, this was one of the major things that we talked about. And I should have brought my books out here. It's a book that we have, and it's called Core, The Art and Science of Becoming what you already are. And so there are a lot of deep studies that we had to take and we had to be about and we had to do. And that process of understanding, it's a deeper dive into our connection to reality. Spirituality is studying and observing our relationship to nature and reality. Metaphysics is a deeper dive into our connection. You're like, what? It's a deeper dive. And if you're talking to people that says, well, yeah, I profess nothing, but I'm spiritual, that means that these individuals who are spiritual without having religion have a deeper conversation because they've dove into that metaphysical understanding that goes beyond just the surface of our present nature of reality. It's a deeper dive. And most people who claim to be spiritual don't know nothing about metaphysics. Again, science is the language that God uses. Science and math is the language that God used to help us understand who we are, whose we are, and why we're here. Understanding our being. That's different. Understanding our being, metaphysics, it's the study of the basic structures of reality. Being and nothingness, time and eternity, freedom and determinism, mind, body, thinghood and personhood, space and time. It is a deeper dive. Understanding the divine self. Divine self takes you into a deeper dive of our relationship in reality. What? When you have a woman who menstruates once a month, you can create a clock. You can create a calendar by how her body connects to the universal energies and movements. What? Ain't that something? Metaphysics, a deeper connection. Where you just feel, when you're talking about feeling, let's get with this. When you're talking about the feeling that you're connected to everything, now you're looking at life at an even more deeper level than metaphysics. What's deeper than metaphysics? Well, according to the scientific mind, and we're using science and math as the language that God used to help us understand the world in which He brought us into. It brought us into. She brought us into. We can use any pronoun here. And for the sake of my sisters and my queens, I'm going to say she. Because y'all get sick and tired of hearing he. She brought us into. She birthed us. That's why in the movie The Avatar, they talk about Awa, the mother of all creation for them. Ain't that something? They call her a her. And we have an AY that transitioned over, and I appreciate you, AY. One love. I appreciate you, AY. We look up because that's what our mind can hold. But it's not that. So when you're studying spirituality, trying to understand the true power of the divine self, you come across concepts in quantum physics. You're like, what? If you don't understand the quantum level of things, watch Marvel. Watch what's his name is Adam, I think it is. And you see the quantum realm. Look at it. It is the smallest particle and how everything is connected. It talks about the layers of connection, that there is no place, no space, no time disconnected from anything. Quantum physics. When a mother can feel that there's something wrong with her child, and they might be in school or miles away in college somewhere. Let me call my baby now. That's a quantum connection. And then you start understanding a quantum consciousness. What? You're dealing with the issues of the source here and how we were called, this whole universe was called into being, into perfect symmetry. Because they study, and to get this, they have to come across what? We need to understand the origin of life. Africans knew it. Africans walked in it. Africans thrived in it. Africans shared proportions of it. But not all. And now without that complete African wisdom, we try to dive back in to what it is, but they destroyed a lot of it. There's information that we'll never know, but when you're studying the origin of life, when you're trying to find out the divine self, the power of the divine self, you definitely have to look at the source. And most of the time, individuals don't even want to deal with when you're dealing with spirituality. Even the concepts of what is the nature of the source. And according to the science and mathematics of what mankind, and even in the oldest texts of African spirituality, when they talk about it, they all have it. It was that Big Bang theory where he say, let there be light. Let me stop this real quick. God manifest, created space and time first. And this is where, and I said, last time I said we were going to talk about sacred geometry, but I don't want to talk about it before I show you how science has come about to help understand where did we come from and how did we get here and why are we here. A higher sense of consciousness manifested itself. I said, let there be light. And of course, don't mind the images. I'm not going to explain that, but that's how the universe is existing. And so when this let there be light, and then you're going to create the elements. Oh, let me drop this. You're going to create the elements that will exist. Now, I'm not talking about the four cosmic elements, which is strong energy, weak energy, gravity, and electromagnetism. So we're not going to dive into there. That's the science we're not diving into. But those were the four things, the four energy fields that were created in the process of creating the Big Bang, and after the Big Bang and after this process, the development of the universe. Those were the four things. But in that space, we sit down and say, look, what human being is creating that? Not one. What physical concept is creating that? I don't see one. When you look at the mass, the range of the universe, I don't see a being, nothing physical. What you see, we're going to get off this. What you see is cosmic energy. Ain't that so? Cosmic energy. One. You see the manifestation of cosmic energy and creative intelligence. A being that manifested all things. I was looking and reading this up, and it said the unmovable mover. For this, and the brother was an atheist. He said, how do you know that's a God? And he started plane. It could have come from another dimension. So he said, well, if it came from another dimension, then that's God, an unmovable mover, something where all things started. Cosmic energy and creative intelligence. That's not my God. Why? Because your mind can't conceive that God has no structure. God is pure consciousness, which is cosmic, is that creative intelligence and pure energy. When you look at the world at its smallest entity, which is an atom, and we're going to dive deeper into this in the next chapter. Well, maybe a couple of chapters down. The source of the atom, right? In the smallest space, atom has no solid. Atom, there is no solid. When God said, "Let there be light," and He created the heaven, they said she created the heavens and the earth. It's energy. We are compressed energy. Relative, was it E equals mc squared? Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. They're trying to understand how this touching this is possible, because there is in an atom there is no solid. It's like 99.9% space, but there's an energy that maintains the atom. You are a manifestation of cosmic energy and creative intelligence. You are condensed energy. This is why when your physical disappears, the spirit that is you goes nowhere. It goes back to the layers of the source, and there are levels of consciousness. And however you leave is when you return, you get to see who you were supposed to be. And in this space, you are God, experiencing God. You are a fraction of a divine consciousness. You are the source of the manifestation of all things. My mind can't conceive that yet. And in every spiritual aspect, every spiritual system, there's that one person who was connected. In Christianity, is Jesus. And in Islam, it says Elijah Muhammad. You have Buddha. There are a lot of people that say that there was an individual that walked this earth that was able to connect to who and whose they are. Why? Because they had direct access to the source. Why? Because they were able to get past the worldly distractions. You think the world wants you undistracted so that you could actually walk in the power and the creative intelligence that God placed in you? That is about the divine source. We're talking about the divine self and that journey to it. Can you get to this experience where you are understanding that you are cosmic energy and creative intelligence? Getting beyond the distractions of the world. And the world, when you're powerful, the world is going to come at you in ways that you don't like it, to keep you down. But the journey to the divine self, your best self, is a clearer and most conscious understanding. A conscious and a subconscious, we'll get into that too, understanding of the source. I have a lot of people around me who talk about how tired they are a lot of times, and I get quiet because I haven't experienced that yet. And don't say that I don't have health issues. Everybody knows that my ticker, I be battling this pressure. My blood pressure goes up, time to pause. I sit down, and what do? Breathe and relax and reconnect to the source to help it regulate the system that it gave. And we're going to get into the system that we live in, which is our physical avatars. Come on. You want to talk about the power of the divine self. You got to understand the source when it says know thyself. It's not just know your before your culture. Know thyself. before your heritage. Know thyself before your history. Know thyself. According to biblical scriptures, God said, I knew you before I formed you in the womb. Know thyself. That you are a manifestation of divine thought and you come from cosmic energy and creative intelligence. You are spiritual consciousness condensed into a physical being. What? You want to talk about the power of the divine self. Know thyself. If I ask you who and what is God to you, understand that that's what science and mathematics is looking for in certain areas. Of course, you can use it to create and manifest other things around you. That's the co-creative part, because you can't co-create without science and mathematics. Sorry, it just don't happen. But you can take time as you're on this journey to know who you are and whose you are. Now, some of us beings know that we are much more than what the world has called us to be. If we come from condensed energy. We are conscious spiritual beings of cosmic energy and creative intelligence, fractions of the Most High, condensed into beings, physical beings, the speed of light, condensed. We have to understand the shell in which we're in order to reach understanding of truly getting back to the source. If we are to ever reach that divine self within. And we're going to get there. This is, again, we're just understanding the source. When you know that you are a manifestation of cosmic energy and creative intelligence, you are a manifestation of the thoughts of whatever you want to call God, Creator, Most High, whatever you want to call God, the source, whatever you want to call the source. You are an extension and manifestation of the source. Don't believe me? Dive into quantum physics. They'll show you how the universe, that everything is connected. Dive into quantum consciousness. You cannot be spiritual without understanding the world. You just can't say, I'm spiritual. It don't work that way. You're not. You're running from spirituality because the spiritual ones are the most intelligent beings on the planet. What? Because they understand the connectedness to all around them. They have that antenna is open. We're going to get to that. Remember these things. So I couldn't talk about how men use mathematics to define and help others understand, and societies understand how the source, because you have artifacts that were created around the world, that wherever people in a particular society went, help them understand their connection right to source. Think about it. I'm sitting there looking at it, y'all can't see it. To source. The power and the consciousness of the Most High. The access, the antenna access that you have to the Creator. Now, in this, when they sit down and say, wait, let me stop this real quick. When they stop it and they talk about the evolution of the universe. And if you see it, the Big Bang, and you see the ages and the stages and 9 billion years in the universe, we in the old universe. Our 13 billion years old. We're old here. What? So they said God created in 7 days. He might have created in 7 days, but these billions of years to God was 7 days. Billions of years old. Billions of years. That means it just sat there before he decided to put man on it. If that's the case, if she before she decided to put man on it, See my conditioning? I'm always saying he because men rule the world, which sucks. Women would do a better job at it. But if you look at it, what you see is the expansion of the universe, the big thing, and then everything expands. Science has already proven that if they can see things moving outward. Even Earth and our galaxy is expanding, moving further and further out. They have us. Oh man, I wish I had this data with me so I could show you. You can study it yourself. They have a telescope or a thing where they took a picture and they pulled everything back in, and everything comes from one anomaly. Every star, every speck, every planet, everything. When they retract it in and reverse the expansion, it comes from one single anomaly. The manifestation of God when he said, "Let there be light." What? Now, what happened before that? Nobody knows. We don't know the total information, but what we do know is our relationship to the universe. And it is a sacred thing. We are beings that were created. This universe was created special for us. And the cosmic energy and creative intelligence exists in us. Tapping into that is the journey. Why? Because the world, imagine what the world would have been if you never destroyed Kemet because you didn't have enough resources in the land you lived in. You never destroyed Kush. You never destroyed Mali, Timbuktu. You never destroyed any of these large African empires because you didn't have anything. Non-Africans, we shared it with you because we understood that we were one people, but you couldn't handle the entire understanding of who we are because your avatar lacks some important ingredients. I don't know what that is, and I don't know what they're talking about. But there we go. Just the experience of understanding that I'm a manifestation of cosmic energy and the world has blocked my connection to it, and I must tap into, use the systems within my avatar to reconnect myself to my higher sense of self, which is the higher being that receives all data from the Most High or the Source. What would life be like if we all understood the Source and our relationship to it? Now I have a community 70 years and we struggling. I ain't gonna sit down and brag, but I can't 70 years I can talk about and give gratitude. But we are getting to a point where we're finding individuals who do not understand Source and are not fighting for the connection to the Source. And that's on all levels. And so my job is to read, study, and deliver. Because somebody needs this. Somebody wants to know thyself. And that is the rise of the African. For those who seek to understand their higher sense of selves, so they can walk around and manipulate through the societies that are trying to keep us down, as well as connecting to a higher source to build fields of living, systems of living, so that we can always consider ourselves free people. Because there was once an African that walked the planet within the divine state. And that's what we're trying to get back at. We will do a couple of more, maybe one more episode on the Source, and start getting into the other areas of understanding the power of the divine self. But I felt that it was important for me to take a slow walk. Now, you take the time to think about it. I am a manifestation of a being that willed all life into existence. And once he willed all life into existence, he also broke in, created manifestations of other concepts of consciousness. That is how God can say in the book and almost everything, say, God knew you before he formed you in the womb. I was a spiritual being before I became a physical entity. And it is my job as a physical entity to stay tapped. It is, and we get free will to stay tapped to the source. But we've had individuals blocking us. I'm getting unblocked. And the more and more I study this, the more and more I get open, and the more and more I become deeply emotional, because I don't know how I got here. I was divinely fed, divinely led. I tell when I on my journey, I used to say it: spiritually fed, spiritually led. I'm not following no man. No, I'm following consciousness, divine consciousness. And if I can see divine consciousness in you, yeah, you'll have me listen. But a lot of people, I tell a lot of people, yeah, I'm not voluntold for anything, because I can feel the African in me connecting to the higher sense of self that's in me, which connects to the higher source that's around us and in us. This is the rise of the African. It's more than just politics. It's more than just, oh, we got a all black everything. Everybody wants to run out to in Atlanta to the mall, but I don't see them talking or taking some of that profit they getting. I don't hear them talking about building a school, a hospital, creating a police force to travel to help our communities, or creating a lawyer legal fund to bring lawyers together on behalf of those who are being criminally persecuted. Nah, you all black everything when the finances you use help to take away the things that are keeping us from experiencing the divine self, our connection to the source. I want you to connect tonight with what you feel brought you here. Just stand in the experience and realize that there's the oxygen you breathe, the plants, the fish, the vegetation you eat. This universe was made perfectly for you to be your greatest self. Sit with that. The universe was made perfectly fit for you to experience your greatest self physically. The source created the universe perfectly suited for you to have life, to experience your greatest self physical. That don't mean we don't go through trials and tribulations. That means the things that we go through help us push ourselves towards the power of the divine self. We'll get further into that. But do you know who you are? Because if you don't, the African in me will continue to speak until you do. Ain't that something? And so with that being said, one love. Experience the greatest you. The power of the divine self. We coming. Hopefully you got something from this. If you did, go ahead, y'all. Do what y'all do. You know, hit the like button, comment, and share. Well, we don't want to do it there. Okay? And if you're watching us on YouTube, y'all know how we do. So that y'all know when the next lesson comes, y'all will be there. Because I don't know when the information is going to get downloaded. I just try to deliver it every Tuesday, and I don't force it. It comes as it comes, and I give it when I'm blessed with it. With that being said, yeah, let's see the rise of the African. One love.